When a commercial airliner experiences, like, a catastrophic failure mid-flight, investigators don't just look at the wreckage, right?
No, of course not. They look for the black box.
Exactly. They want the audio, the data, the exact sequence of, mechanical and human errors that turned a completely routine flight into a total disaster.
Right.
And today, we are essentially looking at the psychological black box of a sporting thriller.
And that is a really crucial distinction because if you just look at the final score of this recent women's cricket match between South Africa and Pakistan, you might think you know exactly what happened.
Yeah, you just see the numbers.
Right. South Africa edged out Pakistan by 2 wickets. It sounds close, it sounds competitive, and the numbers are just sitting there, comforting binary black and white.
But that final score is a total illusion.
Oh, completely.
It hides a sporting landscape that was honestly just absolute chaos.
Oh.
So welcome to this deep dive. Today, our mission is to extract the anatomy of a thriller.
I love that framing.
Thanks. We are going to explore how a match swings wildly from a one-sided humiliation into a nerve-wracking nail-biter. And for you listening, even if you have never watched a single game of cricket in your life, stick with us.
Yeah, please do. The cricket is almost secondary here.
Exactly, because the psychological swings in this match are totally universal. We are dissecting how human beings hit the absolute self-destruct button under immense pressure.
And on the flip side, how individual heroism can rewrite a narrative that feels totally inevitable.
That is the real story here. Scorelines cannot measure momentum, and they certainly cannot measure panic.
No, they can't.
Okay, let's unpack this. How much of this collapse was due to South Africa's lethal brilliance, and how much was Pakistan just aggressively hitting their own self-destruct button?
That is the million-dollar question. And to get there, we really have to look at the sheer depth of the initial collapse.
Right. To set the stage, Pakistan was absolutely dismantled right out of the gate.
Dismantled is putting it mildly. They were reduced to a dismal 55 for 8.
And for context, if you aren't a cricket fan, 55 for 8 means the team has only scored 55 runs, and they've already lost 8 of their 10 batters.
Right.
They're practically out of bullets before the battle has even really started.
In this format of the game, that isn't just a bad start. It is a catastrophic point-of-no-return scenario.
Yeah.
It's the kind of position that usually results in the opposing team just coasting to an easy early finish victory, just to boost their statistical standings.
Catastrophic is definitely the perfect word. I mean, South Africa's opening attack was terrifying. Marizanne Kapp essentially set the tone for the entire match.
Oh, right from ball 1.
Literally ball 1. She trapped Muniba Ali in front on the very first delivery of the match.
Which is just devastating.
And just to clarify, when we say trapping her in front, we are talking about an LBW, right? Leg before wicket.
Yes, exactly. Basically, the bowler throws the ball with such deceptive speed and movement that it completely bypasses the batter's bat.
Yeah.
And it smashes directly into her leg right in front of the stumps. It is a physical statement of total dominance.
And it happened on ball number 1.
What's fascinating here is the psychological shockwave that a first ball wicket sends through a locker room.
I can only imagine.
I mean, think about it. The batters sitting on the sideline aren't even fully strapped into their gear yet, and suddenly they're watching their opening strategy get completely shredded.
They must be panicking instantly.
Totally. Kapp didn't just take a wicket, she introduced a paralyzing sense of inevitability.
And she didn't stop there. In that exact same over, Kapp throws this brilliant delivery that crashes right through Golfer Rose's bat and pad.
Right through the gap.
Yeah, it just hits the middle and off stumps. It maintained its line perfectly.
It was clinical.
And then the very next over, you have Ayabonga Kaka forcing Natalia Prevails to drag on.
Right, which means Prevails tried to hit the ball away, but she was so defensively compromised that she got an inside edge.
And the ball ricocheted violently back into her own stumps.
The South African bowlers were just methodically suffocating them. It requires incredible precision to do that.
Which brings Kapp back into the attack. And she completely hobbles Aisha Zafar with a Yorker.
A brutal delivery.
Yeah. And for the uninitiated, a Yorker is a notoriously difficult pitch aimed right at the base of the batter's toes, right?
Exactly. It gives the batter almost zero time or physical space to react. The ball landed directly on Zafar's foot in front of the stumps. Another casualty.
So you have this sequence of lethal, unplayable bowling.
Yes, but the real story of this collapse isn't just South Africa's brilliance. It's how that brilliance forced Pakistan to internally implode.
Yes, because here is where the story shifts from a masterclass in bowling into something that resembles like a slapstick comedy
You're
routine.
a nightmare.
Right. Or maybe a high-stakes office project where a deadline is looming, everyone is panicking, and teammates are literally accidentally deleting each other's files while trying to help.
That's a great way to put it.
Because interspersed with this great bowling, Pakistan suffered 4 runouts. 4.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, to have one run out in a high-stakes match is unfortunate. To have four is a complete systemic breakdown in fundamental communication.
Let's slow down and look at how absurd these actually were. So, Ramin Shamim gets out because she is literally ball watching.
Right.
Instead of looking at her batting partner, Iram Javed, to coordinate their running, she is just staring at where the ball went.
She's totally hypnotized by it.
Yeah. She gets caught short of the safe zone
Mhm.
and then bizarrely turns around and blames Javed, who wasn't even at fault.
That specific moment is a textbook study in cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload.
Yeah, when external pressure reaches a boiling point, like facing Marizanne Kapp, your brain's bandwidth just shrinks. Professional athletes suddenly experience tunnel vision.
So she literally couldn't process anything else.
Exactly. Shamim stops doing the absolute basic requirement of her job, which is communicating with her partner, because her brain is entirely consumed by the panic of the situation.
And that panic is clearly contagious, because later, that same partner, Javed, makes a terrible call for a run after a simple clip to short mid-wicket.
Right.
She basically hit the ball softly, right to a nearby fielder, and decided that was the perfect time to sprint.
Which made a successful run essentially impossible.
Yeah.
Desperation forces irrational risk assessment. When you are starving for momentum, you start seeing opportunities that simply do not exist.
You're just grasping at straws.
Right. Javed's bad call is the physical manifestation of a team that has completely lost its cognitive clarity. They stopped trusting their training and started gambling wildly.
Which leads to the grand finale of this self-destruct sequence. Nashra Sandhu literally sacrifices her own wicket. She gets herself out because her partner, Fatima Sana, stumbled over the bowler in the middle of the pitch.
I know, it's wild.
They're literally tripping over the opposition, so they find themselves at 55 for 8. The black box is full of screaming and alarms.
The game is basically over on paper.
The narrative seems entirely written. But then one person decides to completely reject the script. Enter Fatima Sana.
Oh, her performance in this match is the absolute definition of individual agency pulling an entire collective back from the brink.
She scored an undefeated 55 off just 38 balls.
Incredible.
But wait, before we talk about her resilience, I really need to understand this strategically. By the 15th over, Pakistan was languishing at 80 for 8. They looked totally incapable of assembling anything competitive.
Yeah.
And yet, Sana chose to take the game deep. She actively waited out South Africa's top bowler, Kapp. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Conventional wisdom says when you are 8 wickets down, you batten down the hatches. If she waited out the best bowler, isn't that just a massive gamble? What if she got out while waiting? Is the key takeaway here that true resilience is actually about pacing your counterattack?
This raises an important question about the fundamental difference between survival and strategic recovery.
Okay, tell me more.
You are right. The temptation when you are 55 for 8 is either to freeze entirely or to swing wildly at everything before the inevitable final wicket falls.
Right, fight or flight.
Exactly. But survival is passive. It's just trying not to lose right now. Sana executed a strategic recovery, which is highly active.
Active waiting.
Yes. She recognized that the current environment was hostile, but she calculated that the environment would change if she could just hold on.
And it was incredibly hostile, right? Because it wasn't just Kapp. South Africa's Shadnim Ismail was also bowling an incredibly tight game.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she finished with figures of 1 for 15, meaning over her 4 overs, she only gave up 15 runs. In a format where batters are trying to smash boundaries every ball, giving up less than 4 runs and over is basically choking the life out of the batter.
Precisely the point. Sana was facing a vice grip. What she did cognitively was compartmentalize.
Wow.
It was noted by analysts that she batted as if she were on a completely different pitch than her teammates. She somehow refused to absorb the contagious anxiety of the 7 batters who failed before her.
Isolating yourself from the collective panic. I absolutely love that concept.
It's powerful.
You can apply that directly to a stressful day at work or a chaotic family holiday,
Yeah.
Just because everyone else around you is running around on fire, absolutely losing their minds, doesn't mean you have to light a match and join them. You
Exactly.
can just quietly wait for the metaphorical 15th over to pass.
But it requires immense discipline. She assessed the situation entirely on its own merits, paced her counterattack, and capitalized at the exact moment the pressure marginally dropped.
And boy, did she capitalize.
She really did.
She starts her assault with a boundary off Kapp's very last delivery of the day. It's like she was patiently waiting in the bushes for the apex predator to leave the area.
That's exactly what it was.
And the second Kapp's quota of overs was done. Sana just exploded. She scored 42 runs off the last 19 balls of the inning.
It's an unbelievable acceleration.
She launched a vicious final over raid, stealing 19 runs in that single over alone, and somehow pushed Pakistan to a totally defendable 126 for 9.
Which completely shifted the psychological burden onto South Africa.
Exactly. So Sana drags Pakistan to 126. They actually have a real target on the board to defend. But, having the momentum going into the locker room is very different from holding onto it when you step back out onto the field.
Absolutely.
How does South Africa handle this sudden, unexpected shift in the narrative?
Well, they stumble. This shows us that momentum in sports isn't a straight line. It is a wildly swinging pendulum. South Africa initially struggles massively in their run chase.
Right. They're reduced to just 20 runs. Sana is out there still playing the hero, bowling beautifully and sending South Africa's Sune Lewis back to the pavilion.
Yeah, she was doing it all.
Pakistan looks like they have a genuinely strong defense going for the first 4 overs.
Yeah.
The miracle looks like it's actually happening.
It really did. But then Annerie Dercksen enters the game for South Africa.
And she completely wrecks Pakistan's hard-earned momentum.
Oh, she's tore it apart.
She scores a scorching 52 runs. But it's how she did it that is fascinating. We are talking about incredibly clean power hitting.
Yes.
She consistently cleared the mid-on and mid-wicket boundaries. And the reports noted she heavily relied on her bottom hand.
Right, the bottom hand.
Could you explain the physics of that for a second? Why does relying on the bottom hand matter here?
Sure. So in cricket, the top hand on the bat handle is generally responsible for control, guiding the ball, and graceful timing.
Okay.
The bottom hand, however, is your power hand. It's the sledgehammer.
Oh, okay.
When a batter relies heavily on their bottom hand, it means they aren't looking to play elegant textbook shots. They are generating raw, brutal, sweeping power. Dercksen was essentially brute forcing her team out of the corner Pakistan had backed them into.
So she basically threw away the textbook and just brought out the heavy artillery.
Exactly.
And she specifically targeted Shamim, the same Pakistani player who had that comical ball-watching run out earlier, taking her for 21 runs in a single over.
Brutal.
That over included the 2 biggest sixes of the entire match.
That kind of targeted aggression is a masterclass in shifting the tone. By deftly identifying the gaps in the field, particularly during the power play, she changed everything.
Let's quickly define the power play for our listeners. This is a designated period at the start of the innings where fielding restrictions are incredibly tight, right?
Yes.
Only 2 fielders are allowed out in the deep near the boundary rope. It's designed to encourage high scoring, sort of like pulling the goalie in hockey to create a numbers advantage.
Yes, exactly. And because Dercksen exploited those exact gaps so brutally, she didn't just score runs, she fundamentally relieved the psychological pressure on her teammates at the other end of the pitch, like Kapp and Laura Wolvaert.
She took the weight off them.
She did. She got the requirement down to a very comfortable 51 runs needed off 63 balls with 8 wickets still remaining.
Hearing those numbers, 51 off 63 balls, it sounds like South Africa had it in the bag. That is usually an absolute cruise control situation.
Usually, yes.
But remember, the black box we are analyzing today. This match is a thriller, which means absolutely nothing is easy. The climax of this game is incredibly messy.
The pendulum swings one final time.
Pakistan just refuses to die. They fight back and start taking regular wickets. Sana is suddenly everywhere again. She ends up taking 3 wickets for just 16 runs.
She was unstoppable.
South Africa's Nadine de Klerk scores a vital 37, stabilizing things, but then she gets completely bowled out by Sana at the exact moment the scores are perfectly level.
That leaves South Africa 8 wickets down, with the scores tied. The tension in that stadium would have been thick enough to cut with a knife.
But intertwined with this heroic bowling from Pakistan is just terrible, clumsy fielding. They kept South Africa alive through sheer dropped opportunities.
Yeah, the dropped catches were costly.
And the deepest, most painful irony of this entire match, the hero, Fatima Sana, the woman who dragged them to a defendable total with the bat, the woman who took 3 crucial wickets with the ball. She dropped 2 vital catches in the field.
Which perfectly illustrates the human limits of athletic performance.
Right.
Fatima Sana essentially played 3 different, highly demanding roles in this match. By the time those catches came her way, you are looking at the physical erosion of basic motor skills due to sheer exhaustion.
That makes total sense. So what does this all mean? Let's really look at these final 3 overs. South Africa is 8 wickets down. They need just 1 single run to win the match. There are 18 balls left to get it.
The tension is peaking.
You are expecting a cinematic finish, a massive heroic boundary, or maybe a spectacular diving catch by Pakistan to win the game against all odds.
Right, the movie ending.
Exactly. You can imagine the sweat, the shaking hands, the absolute silence of the crowd as the bowler runs in. But how does this nerve-wracking Titanic thriller actually end?
It ends with a whimper.
It ends with a wayward wide down the leg side from Pakistan. A complete unforced error. The bowler literally pitched the ball so far off the target zone that the batter couldn't even reach it, which automatically grants the batting team a penalty run. Game over. South Africa wins by 2 wickets.
It's almost anticlimactic.
Totally. It feels like watching a high-stakes tug-of-war where both teams are standing on a giant ice rink. They are constantly slipping, they're dropping the rope, making unforced errors right at the very edge of the finish line. How can a team like South Africa dominate so thoroughly at the start, yet stumble so heavily across the finish line?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it tells us a profound truth about human endeavor. The final steps are almost always the hardest.
Really?
Think about it. When Dercksen was in her massive power-hitting phase earlier, the goal was still far away, the adrenaline was high, and her brain was focused entirely on the process of hitting the ball.
Okay, yeah.
But as that target shrinks to just 1 single run, the reality of winning or losing stares you right in the face.
The cognitive load just becomes too heavy.
Exactly. The weight of expectations kicks in. It's highly ironic that a match featuring such devastating precision from Kapp at the start and such extreme bottom-hand power from Dercksen in the middle ends on a sloppy mistake like a wide.
It really is.
But that is what deep mental and physical fatigue does to a team. It strips away your ability to be spectacular and leaves you completely vulnerable to making mundane, fundamental mistakes. The bowler's grip gets too tight, the mechanics break down, and you throw a wide.
It's the equivalent of spending months writing a brilliant 50-page research paper and then accidentally sending the final email to your boss with a massive typo in the subject line.
Yes.
Because you've been staring at the screen for 12 straight hours, your brain just loses its grip at the very last second.
And the fact that Pakistan was their own worst enemy at the end with that wide, just as they were at the beginning with those 4 comical runouts, shows how extreme pressure bookends an event.
Wow. Yeah.
You panic at the start when things go violently wrong, and you panic at the end when the stakes are at their absolute highest.
It's a full circle of chaos. And it really forces you to step back and look at the bigger picture of what we were dissecting here today.
Definitely.
For you listening, we've walked through the anatomy of a match that was a complete nausea-inducing roller coaster. But as we promised at the start, this wasn't just a cricket match. It was a perfect microcosm of human performance under extreme stress.
We witnessed the absolute highest highs of individual brilliance. Kapp's terrifying opening spell that shattered the stumps and set the tone.
And Sana's incredible rescue mission where she actively chose strategic recovery over contagious panic.
Plus Dercksen's brutal bottom-hand power that brute-forced her team out of a corner.
But we also saw the absolute lowest lows of collective panic. The absurdity of 4 runouts where teammates were literally tripping over each other, rendered incapable of basic communication.
Dropped catches by the very player keeping the team alive because her body was giving out.
And ultimately, an anticlimactic match-losing wide.
It proves that perfection is rarely the reality of high-stakes environments. True resilience isn't about looking graceful while you succeed. It's about staying in the fight, even when your team is metaphorically dropping the ball all around you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the black box, I want you to consider a time in your own life when your team, whether that's your department at work, trying to meet a deadline, a creative project you are collaborating on, or even just your household trying to get out the door during a chaotic morning, was facing a 55 for 8 situation.
When your resources were depleted and the pressure was mounting.
Right. Did the group panic, get tunnel vision, and metaphorically run each other out? Or did someone step up, find their inner Fatima Sana, and quietly, strategically wait out the hardest part before swinging for the fences?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
Furthermore, I want you to think about how these intense struggles actually resolve in the real world. Because at the start, we talked about that final score being like a neat, tidy illusion.
The comforting black and white numbers.
Exactly. But the reality of human achievement is so much messier. How often do our greatest, most anxiety-inducing battles end not with some cinematic triumphant roar, but with the conflict simply fizzling out due to a sloppy mistake or an opponent's unforced error?
More often than we'd like to admit.
Sometimes the dramatic thriller of your week ends with a wide down the leg side, and when it does, you just have to take the win, messy as it is.